In late 1990, Castle of Illusion made its way to the Sega Genesis platform. It was developed internally by Sega R&D 2, who had just wrapped up making games like eSWAT, City Under Siege, and Strider. While I had no particular interest in Disney properties, I adored this game's mix of audio and visual fidelity, and it didn't play half bad either. It was a tad short and easy, but no less a great early title for the hardware. In early 1991, Sega released Castle of Illusion for the Sega Master System and Game Gear, and instead of just stripping down the Genesis game and porting it, they developed an entirely new adventure to take better advantage of the 8-bit technology. It definitely turned out so very much better than I would have ever guessed. I hope you guys enjoy my review of Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse for the Sega Master System and Game Gear. The 8 and 16-bit versions of Castle of Illusion share many traits. The base story is the same. The evil Mizrabel has kidnapped Minnie, and it's up to Mickey to climb the Great Castle of Illusion and rescue her. It starts out with 3 levels that can be chosen in any order. There's the Dessert Factory with its killer chocolate chips, donuts, and gummy dolphins. There's the Enchanted Forest with its magical trees, plants, and insects. Then there's Toyland, with its remote-controlled planes, cars, and clowns. Each stage is themed with its own enemies, bosses, and backgrounds. These stages are heavily reliant on platform play, and the majority of your deaths will most likely come from falling into bottomless pits that dominate the play area. Mickey is not without the ability to defend himself, however. He has the traditional move of jumping on top of enemies to get rid of them, which actually takes an additional press of the button to attack and land with your butt. This butt bounce can be used on treasure chests and bosses as well, and it even opens up hidden items if you are in the right area. In addition to his ass, Mickey can also pick up items and throw them as weapons. But even this element of the gameplay goes well beyond the typical uses seen in other platformers of the time. Aside from throwing items at enemies, you can also pick them up and use them to help you reach greater heights with your jumps, find keys to open doors, and even carry around lanterns to light up darkened rooms. Exploration also plays a major role in the stage design. The closest thing I can liken its playstyle to is a mix of Mario 2 and DuckTales, 2 of the best games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Often you hear that Sega Master System titles can be compared visually to early 16-bit games, and Castle of Illusion here is a damn fine looking game. The color palette of the hardware is put to good use, and you get 6 stages with an awesome variety in background and enemies. Mickey's sprite is brilliantly animated too. Just running and jumping around puts most 8-bit titles to shame, and he loses his balance on ledges and slides to a stop at a time when you mostly saw that kind of thing on the Sega Genesis. The real power of the visual presentation comes from the variety of it all. Every stage is super colorful and very different from one another. The Dessert Factory has ice cream and other sweets all around you, while the library has pencils, rulers, and books. Each stage has a theme and the visuals stay pretty faithful to it. Of course, there is always room for more. I would have loved to have seen some parallax scrolling here and there, and I really wish the larger enemies were as well animated as Mickey himself. These are purely nitpicks though, as the title looks exceptional for a 2 megabit cart. There are games twice this size on the Mega Drive that don't look much better. Sound and music is an area where the Sega Master System has its fans, and has those of you that can't stand it. To me, the sound here is absolutely iconic. Castle of Illusion was one of the very first games I got with my Japanese Game Gear, so I associate just about everything about it with that time. This music played along while I was loving that color backlit screen. I played it many a late night in my room, headphones on, not a care at all that school was only hours away. This soundtrack played away while I showed it off to my family and friends, proud of my Sega handheld that had such a great library that early on. Before the Game Gear Shinobi showed up, this was the showpiece, and indeed this music was a big part of that. Of course, if you hated Sega Master System PSG, this will do nothing to change your mind. It's high-pitched and can grate if you turn the volume up too much. I loved it though, and it's just as endearing as the visuals and its excellent gameplay. By the time Castle of Illusion showed up in North America, the Sega Master System was long dead. The Genesis was well on its way to the Sonic era, and the Game Gear was just starting out. That's where I played it first, and that's where I fell in love with it. It had the gameplay mechanics and presentation that borrowed the best from the platformers before it, and put it behind an instantly likable and recognizable license. The best part of this was Sega's insistence on doing two completely different games for its systems. I mean, they easily could have just scaled back the Genesis version and spit out a Me Too game that was simply a lesser clone. They didn't do that here, instead giving us completely different levels, new gameplay mechanics, and an adventure well worth taking all on its own. I always found that Sega was best when they did it this way. When Sega tried to simply downgrade a superior version, we ended up with stuff that often looked and played worse. But when Sega went with something that took advantage of the Sega Master System, we got something truly worth playing. That was the Sega I loved best, and a big reason why this game turned out as well as it did. Whether you are a fan of Mario, Sonic, or other great action platformers, Castle of Illusion stands on its own as a worthy addition to your library. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.